He is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
It's just a soundbite. They gave her that to say.
To Washington, D.C., and let her sign a bill to close up the border, because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed, you'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll say, come on down to the office, let's sign a bill. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now. If you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar?
Okay. Trump did have some good moments last night, some zingers out there. Overall, you know my thoughts on it. I already told you, but I want to know what Brittany's thoughts are. Joining me now, independent reporter, founder of Rooted Wings, friend of the show, Brittany Mayer joins us. Okay, Brittany. Everyone knows my thoughts by now. I thought it was a terrible night. In the end, I don't know that it'll matter. I think we rebound and block and tackle from here, but I thought it was awful. He was on defense all night. What'd you see?
Yeah, definitely on defense. Hey, but here's my overall perspective and takeaway is what we saw last night is it is the establishment machine, again, propping up their candidate. And in that, the loser is the American people. So I actually think that it was a win when you look at it that way, because once again, we see Donald Trump as being anti-establishment. He is not held up and propped up by the establishment machine. It was 3 versus 1 all night long. So in that perspective, I actually think that Donald Trump came out very strong. Of course, he had to be on defense because the machine has been after him for years. And I think the American people are going to take that away and see it as relatable. They relate to Donald Trump. Kamala Harris is a career politician. She is not relatable, and she's now being used and propped up as the media darling by the machine. And I think that's terrifying.
Okay, so the night wasn't a complete disaster for Dome the way I assumed it was, because she's such a ditzy airhead. She was obviously prepared with the questions, I'm sure, ahead of time in speeches, but she still has to get back out there and, as you just pointed out, relate to people now. Do you even bother with another debate if you're Trump or if you're her? Who wants one? Who doesn't want one?
Look, I think that Trump shines when he is doing those long form interviews that he was doing. He did one with Aiden. He had another one with Sean Ryan. Those speak to the heart of the American people. I think the debates, we're past the point of needing debates to prove which candidate is the media's darling. We know that they're going to embrace Kamala and prop her up because she is the machine's pet. I think that Trump shines in the long form interviews that Kamala can't do. So I would encourage Trump to continue with that, continue with his rallies that people do show up for and do stay for. I think that really does speak to the heart of the American people. And I another takeaway that I had that I just want to touch on that I think is really important is after this debate is said and done, next week, people aren't going to still be talking about this debate. It was not memorable. But what people are going to remember and feel, the average American, when they go get groceries, that they can't afford groceries, that their rent is tripled or quadrupled, that they can't get insurance because rates are out of touch. And I think that on those issues alone, Trump dominates. And they will remember that at the end of the debate, Trump said, it's been 3.5 years of this. You want 3.5 more years? Do you want four more years of this? And the average American knows that they don't feel safe. They don't feel like they can afford America. They don't feel like this is America anymore. And I think that that's where Trump needs to stay focused.
How do you think he handled the whole abortion thing? Now, I disagree with Trump and his stance on the issue, but that's not important. That debate wasn't for me. It was for all the normie people who don't know who they're voting for. I actually thought he handled that fairly well, pointing out their radicalism because they're a bunch of demonic baby murderers.
Yes, and I think he could have gone in even heavier on that. I was on the edge of my seat hoping that he was going to pull up her receipts, and he didn't. But Harris's receipts on abortion as a senator in California are diabolical. I don't know if you know this, Jesse, but Harris has voted against the efforts to protect babies born alive in California, not once, but twice. And she also voted against an act that would have set limitations on pain-capable unborn child protections. So she is 100% a monster when it comes to our unborn. And I wish that Trump would have laid into that even heavier. You know, we talk about the pets being eaten by the Haitians out in Springfield, but the reality is that if Kamala and Walz get in, we are going to witness the diabolical murdering of the unborn, unlike we've ever seen it in this country.
Yeah, speaking of that comment, the pets being eaten, I actually didn't like it. And it's not because it wasn't accurate. It obviously is accurate, as hard as they're trying to cover it up. It was kind of disconnected. Wired-in people like you are going to know exactly what he was referring to. But again, the undecided Norm watching just knows he dropped some weird line about dogs being eaten. I don't think it was articulated that well.
Yeah, I agree. I think what he could have done is he could have said, you know, done his little Trumpism where he says, you know, the pets, maybe they're getting eaten in Springfield. Maybe they're not. Maybe ducks are being pulled out of the pond. Maybe they're not. But what we do know, and then he could have gone into all the data we have about the safety issues because we have an open border, that we have seen Americans killed by illegal foreigners. They're actually in Springfield, Ohio. There was an 11-year-old boy that was killed by a Haitian illegal foreigner. And I think that he could have directed it, you know, touch on the pet situation and the ducks being pulled out of the ponds, but then redirect America's attention to the fact that we live in an unsafe country right now because of Harris's policy on the border. And he should have stuck there and landed there. But that's what leads me back to say, I think that the average American knows that. And so next week, when this debate is forgotten, people are going to still feel unsafe and know that Kamala is not coming to rescue them.
One thing that stuck out to my wife that I noticed, but it didn't stick out to me the way it stuck out to her, maybe it's just a gender thing, was the handshake in the beginning. Here it was for those who forgot it.
Kamala Harris. Let's have a good debate.
Nice to see you. Have fun.
Thank you.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking forward.
It was so weird. Did you make anything of it?
Yeah, I don't think he wanted to shake her hand. And I think she kind of forced herself upon him. I mean, look, she's all the way over at his podium, which is clearly larger than hers because ABC had to manipulate the optics to make it look like they're the same size. I mean, what a joke. I wouldn't want to shake her hand either. I think that we are past a point in America where we have to play by all these standard optic rules. You know, Kamala Harris has been a massive part of destroying our nation. I don't think she's due a handshake. I don't think there's anything gentlemanly about extending your hand to someone who is at the helm of the ship, creating an incredibly unsafe country for our children. So that was my takeaway. I liked that Trump was hesitant, and then he shook her hand, but I liked that he forced her hand literally in that first take.
Brittany, thank you. I appreciate you. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.